So practice writing your inequalities so that the graph will therefore be accurate as well. So page 58, this is just worded a little differently. Whereas before I gave you bullets for everything, you have that at a sporting goods manufacturer. It takes 1 minute for cutting, 2 minutes for stitching. So it's almost like the hot dog and sandwich question. I would give you the cost of making it and the profit of selling it in one shot, as opposed to separating it. So you just need to keep in mind there's cutting and stitching to make a football. Then it takes 4 minutes and 3 minutes respectively. That is just saying, 4 minutes for cutting and 3 minutes for stitching to make a soccer ball. We have at most 6 hours of cutting. That is an inequality right there. At most 6 hours of cutting time and 8 hours of stitching time. At most 8 hours of stitching time. So right there, because of the wording, at most, there's a restriction on your cutting time. There is a restriction on how much stitching time you have. So right there, you have two inequalities. And due to popular demand, the manufacturer makes at least 20 soccer balls per day. That is another one right there. At least 20 soccer balls per day. And I do give you that hint, right? I did give you a hint, right? There's a restriction on cutting, restriction on stitching, and how many soccer balls, right? That's specific to soccer balls. It doesn't mention the other one, so that variable will not appear here. So let's create a system. Cutting time, right? Cutting time restriction, that will be the first one. So I go and look for the cutting time, right? I guess I should define my variables. What is X and what is Y? And sometimes students don't know what to do with it. They're like, what should I make it? And at times I tell students, well, just maybe start making your inequalities if you're not sure. It should be soccer balls and footballs, right? Or footballs first. Yeah, footballs, soccer balls. So we're going to do footballs, soccer balls. And I'm just going to make sure it's number of, right? No surprises there. So you're defining this is your implicit constraint, implicit restriction. Can also be known as domain and range. So if I want cutting time, you know what? I'm just going to do underneath because I don't want it too close there. So for cutting time, it'd be 1 minute for every football plus how many minutes does it take to make the soccer ball? It takes 4 minutes of cutting time. So you basically are matching these. So it's almost like the cost to make the sandwich, the cost to make the hot dog. Here's a minute for every football, 4 minutes for every soccer ball. And that has to be at most 6 hours. And what's the problem there? 6 hours, right? I'm just going to go 6 hours is the equivalent of 360 minutes. And so I'm just going to make sure this is 360 here. So that's your first inequality. Then you have another inequality is the stitching time. And you have 8 hours there. I'm just going to put this in bracket. 8 hours is 480 minutes. Okay. So now we're focusing on stitching. So 2 minutes to stitch the football. And it takes 3 minutes to stitch the soccer ball. So that has to be less than or equal to 480. common mistake is, you look up where my pencil is, to go 1x plus 2y, like here, 1x plus 2y, because hey, they're right next to each other, right? Be careful. It's cutting time is, so cutting here, cutting there. So 1 and 4 as well as 2 and 3, right? So 1 here, 2, 3, yeah, I got that right. So this is my stitching time, and then I have a restriction on number of soccer balls, right? And that would be, for me, soccer balls is represented by y, so y has to be at least 20. Okay, so there's your system. Easier to graph because this is just a horizontal line, 2 diagonal lines, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of work there. If you want to, right, do it beside here or on the side on the left, that's up to you. Is this key on the next page? Let me just check here. No, it's not. So you have to go, I posted this though. And I did it slightly differently. If you looked at the key, I used some kind of table. And don't let that scare you. It's just sometimes, right, you can do that if you want to organize your thoughts. Variables, right, footballs, soccer balls there, right? And then you have cutting and stitching, right? That's what I did just to organize my thoughts, right? So for the football, there's 1 minute of cutting, right? 2 minutes of stitching. For the soccer balls, it's 4 and 3. Right, that's all I've done here. And so for cutting, when it comes to cutting time, you're using these, right, these coefficients in front of the variables. And when it's stitching time, right, you'll be using 2 and 3, right, 2 and 3. So there's a max here of 6 hours, and there's a max here of 8 hours. That's all. So slightly different, right? This was slightly different. This wasn't as organized and clear as the other ones, right? So this is completely optional. I wouldn't make you do a chart like this. But if you do see it, you know that it's just organizing your numbers easier. It's more visible that way. What goes with what. So you would not go 1, 2, 1, 4, right? That's for cutting. Always look at, right, if it makes any restriction here on money. There's a restriction on money, right? Go up and look for money coefficients, right? If there's a restriction here on square footage, go look up square footage up there. Is there a coefficient that tells me what square footage goes with each variable, right? So kind of match the units there. In this case, everything is minutes, right? And in this case, it's just number of, right? So I'm going to pause there. So define variables and constraint. So you could say X would be type A flashlight, right? Number of. And Y would be type B, number of. And we would have X, Y. They both have to be greater than or equal to 0. Maybe you can tell yourselves as well that this is discrete. Right? I don't really give marks for that, but it's a good one for later on. So for this part, we'll say 1.5. Right, half for each part. Then write the system of inequalities. This is A here. I will do B right about here. So here you had to be very careful. It says that in one day the company you can make at most 50 type A flashlights. So that is one inequality. It's specifically talking about type A. So X has to be less than or equal to 50. Okay. The next one is the type B is at most 60. Okay? and I'll tell you the most common mistake here is, or what I see quite often is students going x plus y has to be less than or equal to 110. Because they're like, hey, there's 50 of them, 60 of them. But that allows, right, you could technically have 100 y's and 10 x's, right? So it allows for, like, this rule wouldn't be kept if you do it that way. So it has to be like this, 1, 2, and then the third one, it says, I need a different highlighter. It's 3 hours to produce type B, right? Or type A, sorry. And type B is 2 hours. The workforce provides a maximum of, like, maximum of 180 work hours each day. So that is my third restriction. And I'm just going to say this one goes 3x plus 2y, right? That's hours. I'm just checking if everything is an hour. So that's less than or equal to 180. So I would say you get 1 mark for each inequality, exactly as is, right? So let's say you only have 2 because you did the x plus y is less than, then I would say if you have this one, then you get 1 out of 3, right? So 1, 2, 3. You can still score some marks with the graph, okay? So this one, solid, true is to the left. I'm going to shade to the right. Solid, truth is below. I'm going to shade up. Okay, and this one I will have to do some work with. Let's see if I can fit that in here. So 3x is equal to 180. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 60. 60, 0, right? 2y is equal to 180. Divide everything by 2. Y is equal to 90. 0, 90. Okay. So for this is part C here, finding the intercepts and rewriting. So I'll go 2y is less than or equal to negative 3x because it comes over, plus 180. Divide everything by 2. Y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 90. So with this, I know that, sorry, less than, right? With this, I know it's a solid. True region is below. I will have to shade above. I would say for this part right here, that'd be C, right? I would give you 2 marks for that. So 1 for the intercepts, 1 for rewriting. And I know that some of you will not know how to give yourselves marks because you missed inequalities, you didn't have them. In that case, I will have to follow through. I will have to look at it. If you're not sure, that's okay for today. And now I'm ready to graph. Okay, so I graph. I wonder if I should just, it won't be as pretty as yours, okay? So I'm just type A here, type B, number of, so the units go with it. And I need to make sure I fit everything in. So 50 along the X, 60 along the X. So I gotta make sure 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. That works perfect. And then on the Y, I go as high as 90. So I gotta probably go smaller. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 works out. Okay, there we go. And so you have your vertical at 50. You have the horizontal. I'm going to go higher, sorry. Right, so this is the X is less than 50. The 60 goes here. That's this one. Y is less than 60. And the other one is 60, 0, 0, 90. And it goes like this. This is 3x plus 2y is less than or equal to 180. If you have something like this already, I think I'm going to give you 2 marks, like if all the lines are where they're supposed to be, and then the third mark is for shading and doing all of the other stuff. So I'm shading above and above the horizontal, the diagonal, I'm shading above. Right, sorry, I'm rushing a little bit. I just want to get to some other stuff yet. So that would be shaded. You shade above the horizontal, which gets rid of that sliver there. Everything above it is gone. And you shade to the right of the vertical. Okay. So everything here, that gets rid of this sliver down here, basically. Okay. And everything to the right is gone. So this is your solution region. That should be labeled. And I don't think I've addressed a whole lot of these where the solution region is touching the origin. And I will, for today, I'll be easy on you for that. So if it comes to the POIs, 0, 0 would be 1. No marks taken off today. I don't think I had an example in class, right? So that would be 1. This would be 1. That's 50, 0. That would be 1, 0, 60. So these 3 I could read. Okay, all of these I just read them. So I give you 1.5 for that. Half for each because it's just go get them, right? And then these 2 I need to find yet. So calculator. I know that this one is going to have an x value of 50. I know that for sure. And I know that this one up here is going to have a y value of 60. Right, so now it's just a matter of getting them. I'm debating if I should do that or if I should just give you the answer, but you get 50, 15, as well as 20, 60. So these ones combined, I'm going to give you 2 marks for those. 1 for each of those, because those you have to go get. You have to type this all in and figure that out, right? So 2 marks, 1.5 there. And that concludes this question. So let's see what we're at here. I'm going to do this 2, and then this 1.5 meets the 1.5 way up here. Okay, so let's see. That'd be 2 and 3, that's 5. I'm giving you 3 marks for the graph. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this whole thing, if you did everything right, you get 11 marks. If you completely missed it, okay, you missed the boat, your inequalities, you only have 1 or 2. I would say if you have a graph, if you have everything there, I'd give you at least 4 out of 11 today. Like minimum, like nothing less than 4 out of 11. If you've done all the work, if you try to come up with some POIs, stuff like that, that's like a minimum because we're still learning. Other than that, 11 if you did everything right. So a lot of stuff to keep in mind here. Let's do the back side here. Maybe you were able to do this one. Stephanie estimates that she burns 600 calories jogging for an hour and 400 calories when cycling for 1 hour. She wishes to burn at least 4,800 calories. Burn at least 4,800 calories would be definitely an inequality. And can only spend a maximum of 10 hours a week exercising. Okay, so here, if it goes with calories, I would go 600x plus 400y. That would have to be greater than or equal to 4,800. Hold it. What about the defining, Mr. Dirksen? Yeah, I know. I sort of did that on purpose. So sometimes you don't know what to call that. So I think you would all have to agree that this should have jogging here and this should have cycling. But is it number of jogging? Right, it wouldn't make sense, right? It's the number of hours. Okay, so as long as you have something saying it's the hours, and both of them have to be positive, right? So this is almost like a given. Just go ahead and do this. If you didn't do the hours, I'll just take off half a mark today. So this gives you a mark. We'll give you 1.5 for this part, 1 mark for this inequality, and then the other one, there's a restriction on the hours. The combined hours has to be less than or equal to 10. Okay, has to be less than or equal to 10. So that's weird, 3.5 marks. So we'll just do it like that. It just doesn't work otherwise. 3.5. And then if you want the bonus, here it is. If you tried it actually wasn't that bad, right? But you would have to let x be the length, y be the width. Okay, we're talking about a pen, a rectangular pen, so length and width. It says that the length must be greater than the width. Okay, so the length must be greater than the width. So that'd be one inequality. It says that the perimeter can be no more than 120 meters. So the perimeter would be 2x plus 2y has to be less than, oh, sorry, no more than 120. So this is what it is. And the area has to be 280 square meters. So x times y has to be greater than or equal to 280. And I'm missing this. This is meters and this is meters. X and y have to be greater than or equal to 0. So if you have that exact, if yours looks like that, right, you get +2. That'd be a +2 bonus mark. And if you have 2 out of the 3, I give you +1. Right? If you have 2 out of the 3 inequalities, I give you a +1 for bonus. You need to, okay, I'll come and look. So what are we at here? Question? Sure. So 11 and 3.5. So 14.5 is what you can score max, plus another 2 marks if you got the bonus, right? Yep. You can do X and Y, yeah. I understand what you're trying to say there. Name and last name, okay? And then pass it forward.